if I don't want the Eucharist, then I don't want Jesus. If I don't want the Eucharist, Jesus says, you can leave, but I can't change this teaching. Now, is that to say that anyone who's not Catholic doesn't want Jesus? No, but I gotta tell you this. I have not met one person who loved Christ as a Christian, but not as a Catholic, who when they heard this didn't end up becoming Catholic. My best friend in the entire world, he and his wife used to be missionaries in China. They wanted to devote their entire lives to be Pentecostal missionaries around the world. They came back, and one night she said, why don't we go to the Catholic service? And he's like, fine, let's go. And they saw the Eucharist, and they said, there's something there. Remember after Mass, he's like, hey, can we meet? Sure, we have some questions, great. So for the next 6, 8, 9 months, at least once a week at like 10:30 until midnight, we went down to Perkins. And they just had their questions about the Catholic Church, about teaching about the Bible, about the Pope. We got to this teaching on the Eucharist. And you should have seen the looks on their faces. They were like, oh crap. But also, oh my gosh, is that true? Like, is that in our Bibles too? Yeah, it's in all of them. But you should have seen this because they knew. Her dad is a minister. He runs his own church. Her uncle is a pastor. Her grandfather is a pastor. She married this guy who's going to become a pastor. And all of a sudden they're like, do we have to become Catholic for real? When they made the decision to become Catholic, his mom told him, I've never been more ashamed of one of my children in my entire life. And he was like, Mom, one of my brothers is in jail. What are you talking about? But he realized this, like, no, if I don't want the Eucharist, then I don't want Jesus. And that's the question for all of us. You realize you're made for this. Jesus made you not just to have a relationship with him, but to let him give you his whole body, his whole self. Some people say, well, that's not real. I mean, it's more like a symbol of Jesus' body. I don't know if you've ever heard that, right? Have you ever heard someone say something like that? Let's see what Jesus says about that, shall we? So there's this gospel called the Gospel of John. Let's do a little Bible study quick, right? His disciples are quarreling, they're murmuring, but in verse 66, it says this. It says, as a result of this, many of his disciples returned to their former way of life and no longer accompanied him. Do you realize this is the only time in the entire Bible where someone leaves Jesus over one of his teachings? And the teaching was on the Eucharist. There's literally thousands of people walking away from Jesus. That's the crowds. There's probably hundreds of people who were living with Jesus now walking away. That's the disciples. And then the next line is this. Jesus then said to the 12, do you also want to leave? Imagine what would happen if they left. Do you realize that if they leave, the entire salvation of the world is done? Yep, Jesus might be crucified and rise from the dead, but there's no one to spread that message. And Jesus is willing to risk the entire program of salvation on one thing, the Eucharist. But again, it doesn't look like Jesus. And I remember thinking about this, like praying about this, like, Jesus, how come I don't see you? How come you're so hidden? I remember thinking, like, I don't know what I thought. I used to think that if I lived 2,000 years ago and lived in the Holy Land, that, you see Jesus walking down the street, you'd see him coming up over the hill, he'd just be floating, light coming out of his hair. He looks at you and says your name, Michael, I'm like dead, kind of this. But if you were to see Jesus 2,000 years ago walking along the street, would he look like God? No, that was not a trick question. He was God hidden. He was hiding his glory. And he was hiding his beauty. And he was, in some way, crazy way, he was hiding his love because he knows this. He knows you. He knows your heart. And he knows that if he didn't hide his beauty, if he didn't hide his glory, if he didn't kind of hide his love, you would. We would. Because I got to tell you, if Jesus didn't hide himself in the Eucharist, I'd be the one hiding. If you walked into a Catholic church and you saw the radioactive love of God coming out of that tabernacle, I wouldn't go anywhere near it because I would say, I can't get close to you. I'd be the one hiding. And so he hides himself so that you don't have to hide.
Us Catholics believe that when Jesus said, "This is my body," he meant it. And that bread became his flesh. And as Father Mike said, Jesus was willing to lose all of his disciples for that truth. It's an incredible talk, so please watch the full video. Also, I've done videos on the Eucharist. I have short apologetics videos, what the first Christian said about the Eucharist, Eucharistic miracle videos, and much more. So feel free to check those out. Also, please like this video and share it with as many people as possible, as the Eucharist is what's going to bring people back to the church or into the church. When people realize that that is Jesus and they can have much more than just a personal relationship, it's going to change their perspective. And yes, the church isn't perfect. Yes, there are issues, but to receive the body of Christ so that it's no longer I, but Christ living through me, it's all worth it. I hope you have a blessed day, and God love you.